Today we are going to be talking about various ways to make money writing. And by making money writing, I mean mainly in short and concise ways, since I know that we'd all love to write a novel more than likely, but sometimes we just don't have the time, or we just don't have the resources, or we're going through something and we're like, all I can fit in is 6 pages and that's all I got. So these are various ways to make money as a writer. Unfortunately, none of these are guaranteed. I wish I could say they were guaranteed ways of making money. I really wish I could say that. I tried so hard to look for things like that, but unfortunately, most of the things that make you money as a writer are not guaranteed. We thrive on word of mouth. We thrive on readers. We thrive on something that we cannot control. We thrive on editors, we thrive on publishers, and even if you're self-published, readers still applies from the first thing that I mentioned. So as a result, everything's out of our control pretty much. If you want to be a writer, you have to be willing to just say, I release all control to the existential universe and just go for it. Unfortunately, there's no guarantee with this line of work. That being said, welcome to Adult Writers Club. Let's talk about making money writing. Our next meeting for Writers Club for April is going to be next Thursday, so April 27th, 2023, from 8 to 9 p.m. It's going to be in meeting room 1. I have a massive room, so it'd be really lovely if you all came, and if you can't come, I would absolutely love an email from you so I can help work on your stuff and help you edit and workshop. As usual, I will post a video here anyway, but typically I would say please come in person. Talking to people, brainstorming with people, and having me, a professional editor, look over it is all going to benefit your writing immensely. That being said, let's move forward. All right. So the first thing that I noticed was the most popular and the easiest to get into is applying to be a copywriter for advertising. Not only can you make a lot of money being a copywriter for advertisements, but you can also be incredibly versatile. You can do all sorts of advertisements. You can work for a specific company and do all of their advertising. Generally, you get paid in a massive check. It's not just a little one, or you get paid based on how well your ad does. In general, it pays out really well to be an advertising copywriter, especially if you're good at it. That being said, it's not necessarily easy, obviously, to get every job you apply for. But if you apply for advertising copywriting jobs, I would say that is one of the easiest ways. Once you get that job, being a copywriter pays off well, and it's generally pretty easy. Not completely easy. Writing an advertisement is hard, and it takes study and work, but that does not mean that it's impossible. It is absolutely very achievable and very much worth your time, monetarily speaking. Moving on to the next bit. Sorry, I say a lot. Applying to be a video game writer, either for the lore or for the plotting or even for the actual wording. There are actually tons and tons of video games out there where they're like, hey, I know what I want it to be about, I know what world I want to have it set in, but I am terrible at actually writing a story. Can you write the story for me? Or, hey, I want to have a story that has X character that goes through Y plot, but I have no idea about any of the lore, and I know a lot of people love the lore, and so as a result, you just create the lore and we'll just work around the lore, kind of a thing. That is not only super fun, but once you have applied for a job like that, generally it's not just a one-time gig, right? They're gonna, generally, if the video game does well, or if it has done well, they will create sequels, prequels, so on and so forth, almost infinitely. And even if they don't, you will get paid for that video game. And you will get paid for helping create that and write that. Especially when it comes to more popular video games. They are constantly looking for new plotters, new writers, new lore creators. I will say, though, most of them have a team of writers already, but that does not mean that they aren't looking for people to take on as maybe an intern or something, and then you can sneak right in. So definitely be looking for things like that. And even if it's not one that you like, maybe it's a video game that you're like, that's not my favorite. You can help tell them, hey, this is the reason why it's not my favorite, and I think you're missing an audience here. And they don't have to listen to you. But if they do, not only can you improve the video game and the writing, but then if it does improve their sales, then they will see how valuable you are, and other video game companies will see how valuable you are. And the likelihood of getting more jobs in video game writing industry is much higher. Moving right along with that, TV show writing. There are actually a lot of contests out there for TV show writing. Why? Because TV shows only run for X amount of seasons, right? Generally 3 to 5, and sometimes even less. As a result, applying to be a TV show writer or submitting to TV show writing contests is absolutely a valid way to get money writing. However, again, you have to apply, no guarantee that you'll get it, you still have to wait, you might not win the contest, so on and so forth. But it's still very worthwhile, and if you actually do that and get applied for that position and they take you on, then you are going to make lots of money, especially if it continues on season after season. And don't be discouraged if they get weird about it. I know that, for example, Supernatural was originally going to be canceled after like the first 2 seasons, and they had to fight super hard to get 5 seasons in, and then after that it was so popular it absolutely skyrocketed, and now they practically can't stop making them. They've finally decided to stop at 15, but holy cow, whew, that's a lot, right? And I mean, unfortunately, there are other circumstances where the show does get canceled and it doesn't move on. But that doesn't mean you can't make money. You still will make money from that TV show, even if it does get canceled partway through. You still get paid for what you did do. All right. Next is being a blog writer. Now, blog writing doesn't immediately make money. You have to get more readers. You have to find your audience. You have to advertise towards your audience. And then when you finally find your niche audience, then those returning visitors are what's going to get you your money. Because then you can start putting advertisements on your site. Then you can start getting traffic to your site, and you can start having sponsorships. It's basically like being a YouTuber, but for writers. As a result, it is just as hard as being a YouTuber. Everyone thinks that being a YouTuber is easy. It's not. You have to find your own unique voice. You have to produce it well. You have to create a compelling line of thinking, whether that's, hey, this is a cooking show, or hey, this is a mom blog, or hey, this is a, you kind of have to find your spot. If you bounce all over the place, it's going to be really hard, whereas if you find your spot, it can be a lot easier. That being said, it's definitely not easy and not guaranteed. Even with the resources that I have through the American Fork Library, I, as you can probably tell, do not have like any sort of fancy green screen. I don't have any sort of fancy lighting to make this look a little nicer. I don't have any sort of fancy camera. In general, it's very basic. But the information I feel I'm providing is pretty good. But as a result, the highest amount of views I've ever gotten was 27 views. And on YouTube, that doesn't pay, and same thing with a blog. Blogging typically is like being an influencer on Instagram. You need to have at least 200 or more followers before you start getting money. Don't quote me on that because I've never actually successfully done it, but that's as far as I'm aware. So blog writing is absolutely something you can do, but the problem is you just have to keep going at it and not get discouraged. You just have to keep writing your blog and writing your blog and writing your blog and writing your blog until finally you get the audience that you're looking for. So ultimately, I would say if you're going to be a blog writer, absolutely go for it. But if blog writing is not your thing, maybe just write your novel, because you will have to do just as much writing for blog writing as you would writing a novel. All right, moving right along. Apply to write articles for newspapers. Now, I know this sounds really boring, but it's actually not. I applied to be a writer at the newspaper for Utah Valley University, where I am going to college. And I actually wrote a couple articles for them on the arts and drama department, and I absolutely adored my time there. I loved every second of it. It was so much fun. And I honestly wish I could have done more of it, but I just felt I was overly stressed and taxed, and so I had to quit. But I honestly think newspaper writing doesn't get enough credit. It is actually a very fine art and can be very poetic and very interesting. You just have to find the right story and find something that interests you. So I would say absolutely apply to write articles for newspapers. Doesn't mean that you'll get, again, doesn't mean you're guaranteed you'll get the job. This is not guaranteed money. But if you apply to be a newspaper writer and you do get a job, it will be guaranteed money. Just like if you are a professional video game writer. Those two things generally, if you apply and you get the job, you will continuously get money most of the time. The next thing is creating a freelance writer account for people to ask for your services. In general, this can be anything from copywriting to ghostwriting novels. There are lots of resources like Upwork. And I know there are more than that, but Upwork's the one that's really blowing up right now as far as like working. Fiverr's another good one, although I will say if you get on Fiverr, you're pretty much expected to work for cheap. So Fiverr, Upwork, both good ones, but Upwork I would say is a little bit better. However, Fiverr, you might get more jobs even though they'll be for cheap. So absolutely, I would say create an account on Fiverr and try to get some traction there would be a good way to start, and then maybe move on to Upwork so that way you can say, hey, I have this extensive resume, and you'll be more likely to get jobs there. Moving right along, there's also a website called Medium. Once again, it's kind of like blog writing in the regard that it has blogs, it has articles, it even has some tiny little books, but the whole point of Medium is that you get money based on how many readers you get. It's similar to Kindle Direct Publishing, except with Medium, you get more money if the people start following Medium's paid account after they read your stuff. So unlike Kindle Direct Publishing, where they just in general pay you, this one pays and then it pays extra if someone follows your stuff directly. However, again, not guaranteed at all. However, it's a good place to start. It's an absolutely good place to start. Look up Medium for writers, Medium. It looks like a really great website. I haven't tried it myself, but honestly, just from looking at it, I think I'm going to try it myself. Even if I may have no success at it, I think that it's worth a shot, especially with short stories or things like that. Since short stories don't tend to get a lot of traction unless they are put into an anthology, and sometimes not even then. The next thing that I'm going to mention is honestly making money from Amazon ebooks. If you publish per chapter, you'll get paid per reader on Kindle Direct Publishing. Not to say that you will make money at it. Unfortunately, once again, it's not guaranteed. But on the bright side, you can do this anytime, and you can continually do it. And for each reader that you get, you will get paid a certain amount. It's not very much, but at the same time, it's still something that you're getting paid for your writing. And honestly, that's a great way to build a following. And then if you want to later say, hey, I self-published and have 500 readers, would you like to publish me? It's more likely that publishers will pick you up. Unfortunately, it's also less likely that they'll pick you up if you only have 5 readers. So it's kind of a toss-up, honestly. If you're looking to get published, I would say try getting published traditionally first. But if you're not really sure which way you want to go, maybe try Kindle Direct Publishing, and if you get enough readers, then you can definitely get a better traction when you try to publish through a traditional publishing house. The last thing that I'm going to mention here is self-publish and promote your book. Now, the only caveat here is that self-publishing is incredibly hard to make money at if you do not have a following on social media already that will likely buy your book, and even then, not guaranteed that they will buy your book. I know lots of artists and self-published authors that have 1,000+ followers, and yet only maybe 500 of them bought the book. Or sometimes less. There are some times where it's even less than that. I know someone who had 500 followers and only 20 of them bought her book. So it's no guarantee, but at least that's still 20 more than would have bought it elsewise. You got to make sure you're willing to promote your book, and yes, it does take work. You either have to pay someone to promote your book, or you have to promote it for you. Personally, I say promote it yourself. It's not only cheaper, but it's a lot more fun. You get to put a lot more of your personality into it. And if you're going to self-publish your novel, you got to make sure that you get an editor, you get a formatter, you get a copywriter, not a copywriter. You have someone proofread it, even if it's just your parents. but I will say getting a professional editor is key because of the fact that, and I know that I sound biased because I know I mentioned I'm a professional editor, but I'm not making this up. I have read lots of self-published books, and the likelihood that you're going to get picked up and that a reader is going to recommend you to someone else goes a lot higher and gets a lot better if you have it professionally edited than if you don't. If you don't, the likelihood of plot holes and magic system problems and so on and so forth is a lot higher, and as a result of that, you will have less readers. It's just gonna happen. And the pickier readers who get really weird about format and who get really weird about spelling errors, don't even think about it. So as a result, I would say if you're going to do self-publishing, unfortunately it is an investment of your time and your own personal money. But ultimately, it is a way to make better money than traditional publishing if you take off, because you will be getting more of the royalties than if you traditionally publish. However, if you traditionally publish, you don't have to pay an editor, you don't have to pay a formatter, you don't have to pay a cover artist, because they do that all for you. So there are benefits and drawbacks, and I'll talk about that more in another video of traditional versus independently publishing. I hope that this was helpful for you. If you think of other ways to make money writing, please list them in the comments below. If you found any of these helpful, please also list that in the comments below. And please come to the meeting from 8 to 9 next Thursday on the 27th. I would so love it if I could see most of you here. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.